It's Sybil Wilkes with what you need to know. Today is Monday, June 1st, 2020. Number 1. In the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a riot is the language of the unheard. America has demonstrated once again that this country, its leaders, and many police departments continue to turn a deaf ear to the plight of African Americans. What began as peaceful protests to the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery, and 400 years of racial injustice has mushroomed to days of protest and nights of violence. Thousands of National Guardsmen have been put on the streets of cities across the country in response to the looting, arson, and other acts of violence. Number 2. As the country erupts in protest over the death of George Floyd, a very stark difference in leadership and response between Donald Trump and Joe Biden has become even more apparent. Over the weekend, Donald Trump took to Twitter to condemn protesters who are outraged over police brutality, calling them thugs and using threatening language reminiscent of the unrest during the civil rights movement. Vice President Biden urged calm, saying the act of protesting should never be allowed to overshadow the reason we protest. Number 3. In addition to the growing protest over the death of George Floyd, state and city leaders have another pressing issue on their hands: a possible second wave of the pandemic coupled by the lack of social distancing during the protest. Mayors around the country are encouraging protesters to get tested or isolate themselves from vulnerable family members. Number 4. Saturday's liftoff of NASA astronauts on a privately built and owned spacecraft was a historic event, long time coming. The Elon Musk SpaceX company built Dragon Endeavour delivered Americans Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley to the International Space Station Sunday. It gave hope for making space travel an affordable possibility in the near future. Number 5. Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated is continuing to strive to fulfill the organization's hallmarks of service, leadership, and education by addressing today's critical issues of our community. The initiatives led by sorority president Deborah Catching-Smith raise awareness of the pandemic, the 2020 census, and voter registration for the very important November election. Read details about Sigma Gamma Rho's initiatives in today's newsletter. And here's a page from Black History. The late Mabel Fairbanks may not have been afforded the opportunity to chase Olympic gold as an ice skater, but she is still rightfully recognized as a pioneer of the sport. Fairbanks is the first Black woman inducted into the U.S. Figure Skating Hall of Fame and coached many of the sport's brightest stars. Join Tom Joyner and me today live on YouTube at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central as we discuss today's top headlines and more with the president of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, Deborah Catching-Smith. And that's what you need to know. For more information, go to SybilWilkes.com and sign up for my free newsletter. Be informed, be empowered.